Okay, so we've done two previous conversations. They've been about Amazon. I like kind of doing them once a year to get updates. You've grown immensely. I've grown. Our community's grown. And it's going to kind of be that same interview we've done twice already, but it's going to be that updated version. You're going to talk about your experience, or we're going to talk about our experiences and Amazon and our businesses and all that, hopefully to help people, one, who don't know anything about the business, and then two, to help people who maybe already have their business up and running, because we're going to be talking about scaling and how you kind of went from zero to now almost 10 million in sales in the last 12 months, which is huge. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We can also talk about arbitrage ops a little bit because you and I both run a community, arbitrage ops. So we can get into all that, but I just wanted to start with kind of who you are, your Amazon sales, how long you've been doing this, all that jazz just about your business, and kind of catch me up to date on where you're at.
Yeah, I'm Soros, and as you just said, I'm hitting $1 million months at Amazon right now, which looking back is just I can't believe it.
It's
Like I
insane.
literally started this a little over 2 years ago, and that was me with a phone scanner at the store scanning products. I'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, I now run a company of approximately 25 people, a couple Americans, mostly foreign contractors, and they're helping me source products online, buying from big box stores, and we're selling products on Amazon. It's not a super complicated business, but we're doing it at scale now.
No, yeah, it's, to be honest, insane, the growth from when we first talked about it. I can't believe it's been two plus years now. It's pretty insane. But I mean, for those of you, some people already know this story, but like, I don't know if you want to retell the story of like the very first time you started on Amazon, because the growth that I've seen from then to now is just unreal.
I'm gonna try to remember back, but I remember meeting you where I was so excited. I didn't know Charles, I didn't know you, and I was looking for Cabbage Patch Kids at Costco. This was like one of the first
Yeah,
products I
yeah.
ever
This is
bought.
exactly what I was.
And
This is the story I was thinking of.
yeah, and I DM'd you and I'm like, dude, I got all these Cabbage Patch Kids. I'm going to sell them, and you're like, good on you, man. Like, go get after it. And it was just like no idea. I think this was even before I met someone to teach me, or it was right around the beginning. And yeah, I was just excited. I was excited to tell anybody that would listen, and like 9 out of 10 people around me are kind of like, whatever, man. Like that doesn't sound like a good idea. And I happened to see that you posted on Twitter that you were in the Amazon FBA, and yeah, we talked a little bit more and more, and then I got better at it, you got better at it, and then we like came together and formed the group. So it's just amazing how it just started from, you know, a couple tips online and a little bit of searching on where I could flip a product, how to start a Seller Central account, and then really learning the fundamentals of how to find products and how to repeat that over and over again. And yeah, it's a simple equation after that. If you can find lots of cheap products, everybody's buying on Amazon Prime. So it's kind of how it started.
Yeah, it was, like now thinking about how process like driven you are, and like how you have almost everything down to a process from start to finish, compared to back then. When you reached out, I was tweeting about, Amazon, and I was selling on Amazon, and you reached out and you're like, dude, like these Cabbage Patch dolls, like you get them at Costco, you buy them for this much, you sell them for this much. Christmas is coming up, and there was like that was about it. There wasn't too much talk about even like sales rank or anything like that, if I remember correctly. And you're almost like just like blindly firing. You're like, they're toys. It's Christmas. There's
Well,
profit to be made there.
the
And I was like,
numbers,
yeah,
yeah, I had to have a little faith because I haven't seen anything sell, but like the numbers were simple. Amazon gives you a rank that tells you how fast something sells. So you have that. You know how fast something sells. They tell you how many competitors you have. So you can kind of get an idea of like if you'd sell against them. And they tell you essentially if you can make money, you can easily calculate your ROI. So like with that information in hand, and my mentor at the time, the guy teaching me, it was like, yeah, just get out there and get buying. You're not going to be able to find that much stuff right away. Right now, you have more opportunity, you have more capital than you have opportunity. But if you just keep doing this and keep getting reps, there's going to be a time where you have more opportunity than money. And I just kept the faith and just kept plugging away. And always be buying in the beginning is like no joke, because it forces you to just get immersed in it. It forces you, you buy something bad, well, you're gonna go into your software and see that it didn't sell, and you're gonna learn from that. So every buy becomes a really good learning experience. It's not something where it's good to just like, I'm gonna try one product this month, a product next month. You're never gonna learn anything. So that's why like that kind of bull in a china shop mentality in the beginning is actually really good. It forces you to immerse yourself.
Yeah, that was the one of the first products, and then after that, you were just like, I'm buying this, I'm buying these, I'm doing this, I'm in this store. You were going crazy on bras from Kohl's, and just it's so crazy looking back, from over the 2 years, the two times we've done the interview, what's kind of changed and how you've grown, but it's been that kind of move very quickly, kind of iron things out as you grow. And it's turned into this now almost $1 million a month business, or, last month you did hit 1 million. I think December you hit 1 million. So, it's turned into this $1 million a month business. And so this, those last two is kind of for the people who know you and what you do and what your business is about. The people who don't know what retail arbitrage is, don't know what online arbitrage is, don't know like really the nuts and bolts of selling on Amazon, because there's 50 different ways that you can sell on Amazon, and there's private label and there's automation, this, that, and the other. Let's kind of reel it back in a little bit, and let's just talk about each kind of part of your business, because you do retail arbitrage, you do online arbitrage, and you do some wholesale, right? So let's just break down what each of those are, like in its simplest form. Let's start with retail arbitrage.
Yeah.
So what is that?
Let's break them all down. And before retail arbitrage, let's just nip this in the bud that this is not private label, which is what a lot of Amazon sellers do. I'm not ordering products from China and putting my own branding on it at all. So there's 3 you mentioned, and then private label. I do the 3 you mentioned, and you do too. And retail arbitrage is going into physical stores with your phone, with a couple apps, and scanning the products and looking at your phone and seeing if these things are going to sell well, like the stats that I just mentioned, and literally buying things in store, taking them back home. You can prepare them yourself to Amazon standards, and you can send them into Amazon. And people, when people are shopping on Amazon, they're looking for Amazon Prime. Prime and FBA, that's the same one and the same. You'll hear us say FBA and Prime. When they go on to buy a pair of Nikes, they just need the Nike shoe sold on Amazon and in small print by my store name. And you may not even notice when you're shopping on Amazon Prime, because you don't care. It's got the Prime checkbox. It's prepped to Amazon standards.
It's a branded good. Like it doesn't really matter that it's coming from your store. And I think what a lot of people who shop on Amazon who aren't like really in the know don't even understand that it's coming from a third-party seller half the time. They just think, I'm buying this Nike shoe from Amazon, right?
Right.
But really, it's about 50% of the products are sold from third-party sellers, and then Amazon does the other half. So there are times where they are getting that product from Amazon.com, or from Amazon, the company. But in the other half of the case, it's from people like yourself, people who do online arbitrage, wholesale, and private label. It's those sellers. And so this first one, retail, is you're just going into the stores and you're buying it. Like we said, that first one, Cabbage Patch Dolls, that is a brand, it's a toy. Most people know what that is, right? And up until now, some people didn't even know that you could just walk into the store, buy it, and then list it on Amazon to sell.
Yeah, and we're not even listing it. We are putting it on a listing that's already made. So it's a matter of, you go to Costco, you get the Cabbage Patch Dolls, you prep it to standards, and you enter in your software, like this is going onto this listing. That's a huge advantage, because you're not sitting there, like listings take time to make. Like this is a way where you can, and listings would take time to advertise and get traffic to it. So you're jumping on other people's listings on the public listing that already has a speed of sale, already tells you how fast it's going to sell.
Yeah, so we can definitely get into like how we understand how that stuff sells. We can get a little bit deeper. This was kind of just the intro into like what each one of them is, right? But yeah, going to it, the listing, people think, oh, I got to create this listing on Amazon and I got to run ads. People who are familiar with Shopify and creating Shopify stores are like, fuck that whole headache. I don't want to deal with, creating these listings, running advertisements, spending money, right? But okay, let's just use Nike as an example. This is sometimes the case, sometimes it's not. But Nike, for example, would create the listing themselves on Amazon. They would pay for the advertising and to get the sales rank, which is something that you look for, down, and to get a good sales rank for it. So that when somebody goes in and just types in Nike shoe on Amazon, the best selling Nikes are going to have those lowest ranks and they're going to be popping up first, right? And so whoever created that listing is the person who's going to kind of be doing that at first. And then there's a bit of a snowball effect where, Nike's such a big brand that their listings are getting searched regularly anyways. And so there doesn't really need to be any of that advertising and that copy. But somebody at some point, most of the time it's the brand, has already created the listing. And what you're saying is that you can essentially piggyback off of that listing. When you scan the product and say, I'm going to upload it and sell it on Amazon, you pick that listing and then you're one of the sellers on that listing.
Yeah, and frankly, just to go the other way with it, like if we find a great shoe at a store that we know sells, that we know like people like, but it's not on a listing and we have to create the listing, I'm just moving on. I'm just getting another shoe because it's just much quicker money in my pocket than sitting there creating a listing and hoping traffic gets driven to it.
Yeah, by the time that one of your employees goes through, creates the listings, goes through the whole headache of creating that listings, they could have bought 10 more shoes that have sold already or that can get listed and then sold. So in the retail arbitrage line of work, you were just scanning products, looking for them, seeing if they sell on Amazon, doing the analysis to see if it fits your criteria, and you're buying it and listing it and sending it to a center and then selling it, correct?
100%. That's all there really is to it. And then Amazon, the beauty of Amazon is they take care of everything else. It's not like eBay where you're talking to customers, where you're posting pictures of your product. There's no customer support. Like Amazon handles that. Even returns. They're taking, if a customer that buys off of my store returns the product, it gets put right back into my inventory if it's in good condition. So I think we're going deep into this now. I just get excited talking about it because it's such a just opportunities still.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to cover, right? And we've tried to do these interviews before, and every single time we're like, fuck, there's this and there's that and there's this and then that. We get sidetracked and go on these tangents because yes, it's like, at its core, it's very simple. You buy on Amazon, you sell on, or you buy in stores, you sell on Amazon. But there's all these little, nitty gritty things that kind of go into it, right? And we could talk for hours, and we've had conversations for 2+ years in the group where it's still continuing to kind of push and grow and have new conversations because there's so much going on Amazon, right? So we can get more into, the whole FBA, FBM sort of thing after we go through the kind of other two. But online arbitrage, what is that? I know it's most of your business now. It's kind of pivoted towards that, correct?
Yes. And this will be easy because it's really similar. Like, and retail arbitrage is still fantastic. It's just a matter of I can manage a bigger and retail arbitrage I think has better margins for me, or I'm better at it. But online arbitrage, I can manage a lot more people from my computer way easier than managing a bunch of store buyers. So online arbitrage, this exact same concept. The same way you walk into a store, you go on a major website. You look for a coupon in your email and go on a major website, and you run the same sort of analysis tools on the website, and you purchase. The difference here, once you're growing, and you can still ship it to yourself, but one thing that's really good to do online to save money on taxes is you can ship to a tax-free prep center to prepare your product for you, and then they're going to send that into Amazon for you. So that makes it like a more, completely hands-off process. Uh, the biggest difference between online and retail from a competition standpoint, and this scared me at first, but it doesn't need to scare you, is that, on these websites, you got everybody looking at them. So you got a little more competition.
It's the
In
same
retail,
deals. It's the
yeah,
same. Everyone sees the same stuff, and this is why you talked about, okay, margins are a little bit higher doing retail, and this is the reason why is there's more competition online. There's less legwork, and so people are willing to take those kind of lower margins
right.
because they're sitting at home shopping from their computer instead of
So
driving
we're
to the store.
exactly. And in the store, I feel like you can make a little more mistakes and still be profitable. Online, you got to get a little more pinpoint with your analysis because you got to buy better than your competitors. But you wouldn't. I let that scare me for a while, and it doesn't need to. Like it's the same process. You need to always be buying, and just pull in a China shop, like buy a bunch of different shit. Excuse me.
This is going to
And
get people into trouble. You say buy a bunch of different stuff.
sorry,
The,
why not deep? So when I say buy a bunch of different stuff, I don't mean when you find something, buy 100 of it.
Well,
If
no, no,
you're
no.
not,
I know, but like even just saying, you just buy, you just buy. People are going to be like, well, no, you don't just buy. You have to buy the right stuff, and you got to find the right stuff.
it's my it's my advice when you start. If you give yourself a chunk of change to do some damage with, buy 20 different products, do your analysis on it, but buy a bunch of different types of products so you can see how they sell, how the price reacts after a while. If you made the right call, it's all really good learning.
Yeah, 100. I mean, honestly, your explosive growth has been bigger than almost anyone I've seen. It still blows most people in the group out of the water. We do have some people who hit 1 million in sales their first year, so it's like we do see those guys who freaking kill it. But your growth and the way you've kind of attacked Amazon and just run your business like a machine and blown it up is something I haven't seen from a lot of people. And I think that part of that idea is bull in the China shop, go as hard as you can, like all brakes or all gas, no brakes. And, it's really kind of turned your business into this massive thing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's my style. I clean up later. I
yeah,
mean, everybody's like in our group, in our community, everybody's got different styles and there's some pinpoint guys but yeah, we're seeing very good early success where like I don't think it's going to be very long where you see the next 8-figure stores coming out of our group.
Oh, I mean, like year one was 7, so like there's going
Yeah.
to be people who 10x that this second year.
Mhm.
But okay, yeah. So going back to it, you've got retail, you've got online, and very similar stuff. One thing I do want to get into before wholesale, because wholesale is kind of easy, it's obvious, it's you're getting these products super discounted, right? So when you look at retail and online, there's going to be people listening to this who are like, no, you can't do that. That's just there's no way you can buy retail, sell for profit on Amazon. Like, what causes that sort of thing to happen? Like, what are some different ways that you're finding these products? Because I know there are a couple different ways.
I really like this question, like what causes arbitrage? Because when I started Amazon, I was like, there's no way this exists.
Yeah,
Like there
right.
have to be big companies that
Markets
figure this
are
out.
efficient,
But
right?
it's actually super simple. Like it's still, I didn't get it for a year, but I totally get it now because I have my own store and it has the same problems that these big stores have. And the problem is simple. You've got all this inventory. I don't care what you're in, electronics, apparel, whatever. You have 20, 30% that are your killer, your best sellers. You want to devote a lot of resources to those. Then you got 50% that are good sellers. You want to devote resources to those. Then you have like resources, people, time, energy. Then you have like 10 to 20% of your inventory that's selling kind of slow. And you don't have like Adidas, Nike, they don't have the time and effort to like spend all their resources and time analyzing their like outlet supply and making sure it sells at the right price. And I don't have time to analyze my slowest product. So there's this constant inefficiency in the markets where companies don't have the energy to deal with their low inventory. Well, that opens up a window for analysis of that inventory and realizing they're dropping, and like you make like a blanket decision on your slow inventory, for example, they're dropping price on all this inventory that's actually really good. So that's one like major example of why I think arbitrage is here and it will
Will
always be.
always be here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that was a realization I did not understand coming in. I was like, all right, maybe this is a thing that's going to last a few years and I still want to do it. But no, this is a thing. Amazon could get harder, but there will always be a platform that you can arbitrage on.
Yeah, it's these inefficiencies caused by these companies. There's always a company that is getting rid of product that they just don't have the need for or the capacity to hold anymore. Whereas your company, a smaller company, may be like, okay, I can take on this inventory and I can sell it. I can hold on to it a little bit longer. I know the place to sell it. They may be selling just on their website. They don't get the traction, that sort of thing, right? So it's like you go to some of these sites and they're running sales on products where you can get them severely discounted. Also you're using the cashback websites, you're using your credit card points, you're using all these things to get these products at a massive discount that are selling for retail price on Amazon. And most of these consumers who only shop on Amazon are like, oh, this is retail price. I'm getting the quote unquote best price for it, or at least retail price. They're happy to pay it on Amazon for the 2-day shipping, the guaranteed returns if anything goes wrong. And that's kind of one of the aspects of the business where you can kind of make it happen to where you're buying so discounted, selling for retail price that there's profit to be made there.
Yeah,
right?
Between outlets and couponing and all that stuff and cash back, like you can get all the time cheaper than wholesale. And I guess this could be a decent segue into wholesale.
Well, hold on. Before we get into wholesale, there's one other way that like money is made on Amazon, right? So it's the discounted stuff that you're buying that you're selling for retail, but there's also the I'm buying and it's selling for much higher above retail, right?
The beauty of that Prime checkbox is like it's so much more valuable than you can imagine, because people do think they're buying the cheapest on Amazon. Some people
they've done great marketing. Like Amazon for years was the cheapest everywhere, right? And so people kind of associate Amazon cheapest I can get it, the fastest I can get it, the most reliable, right?
Yeah, the most reliable, the comfort, that is the value, and that's where some people like myself I know this stuff, and I still will buy something on Amazon for $20 more expensive because I'm like, I know that shit's getting here in 2 days. I know the whole return policy. The buying process is easy. People pay a lot more than you think for that.
Yeah, like I never used to buy stuff on Amazon. It was, I didn't like the company. I didn't like the whole process. I didn't do it. Once I started selling on Amazon and realizing the inefficiencies from some of these other companies and dealing with returns from these other companies, I started to understand that like Amazon really has it nailed down, and I'm willing to pay that kind of premium for that service. So that's another part of it. It's maybe sometimes a slight premium plus some discounts that you're getting. And then there's like kind of almost a third, but it's more just an extreme version of this is
super premium.
Yeah, some stuff is just, for whatever reason, it is sold out everywhere in stores, or it's sold out in certain regions, and it spikes in price on Amazon, right? So that's kind of the third one. In your business, I assume it's mostly you're taking advantage of these credit card points, the rewards points, the discounts, right? Or is it kind of a mix?
Exactly. We're primarily buying at a discount and selling at retail, but from your store and from guys in the group, they make a killing on the super premium stuff. And it's almost like I think some of the super premium stuff is like, it's like the Super Bowl of retail and online arbitrage. It's like, if you can get your hands on, like, I'll bring it up, like the last 2 summers, like a bunch of pools.
Yeah.
Like, those things sell for just 2 summers ago, it was like what, 5x, 7x?
It was a $200 pool selling for like over $1,000. Yeah. Absolute insanity, right? And some of that had to do with COVID and supply chains kind of being broken completely, and stores not having everything and people staying home, and like there were certain things like foggers and weights and pools that like really were what you would say COVID related. But then there's other stuff that it sells for a huge premium, but that's because of demand spikes. Around Christmas, toys are really going for a lot more, right? You buy them retail, there's just so few of them on the shelves that parents are like, I have to go to Amazon. Or, during the summer, uh, rafts and inflatables and stuff like that. It's like, okay, this stuff is no longer on the shelves. We need to go to Amazon, and you're paying like a 2-3x premium, but
Yep.
it's the only place you can get it, right? So that's how this kind of works, and we kind of just wanted to carve that little caveat out and talk about it a little bit and make people understand like this isn't oh, that can't work, that doesn't work, or I don't believe it, sort of thing. This is kind of the reason why it's able to happen. But yeah, now let's kind of move on to wholesale really quick, and then we can get into the scaling, because your scaling and the way you've built your business out is, I think, super valuable to people listening to this and what they want to hear. But let's just talk about wholesale really quick, and then we can move on to it.
Yeah, and I want to mention that wholesale is like, I would love for wholesale to be a bigger percentage, but I go where the money is, and online and retail arbitrage are my biggest segments. And there's wholesale, I think everybody immediately thinks, oh, this is like a passive business. You just get a huge chunk of inventory and you just keep selling. And that can be true. Like, you can get a really good relationship with a distributor or a brand, and you can sell their product exclusively or against only a few sellers, and you can make some money. But there are drawbacks to wholesale. For example, you're getting, like, it takes time to negotiate these deals with these distributors and brands. They can cut you in a heartbeat. Like, they can just take you off their list, give it to a friend. They can only give it to 10 stores or something. On top of that, you have to buy at their wholesale prices, which occasionally and very often you can buy at cheaper than wholesale. So you're competing against arbitragers. And on the wholesale catalog, sometimes a lot of brands, I'd say 90% of them, require you to sell at MAP, minimum allowable price. So you are told exactly how cheap you have to sell. A lot of times you have to purchase products that are brand new and you don't have any sales history on. That's another beauty of the way we do things. We literally have a sales chart of exactly how it's been doing. So wholesale is simply buying from distributors or brands and selling on Amazon. But I feel that my business is much more flexible and much more profitable using the retail and online arb route. I still am looking for wholesale distributors 100%, but my engine of my company is the arbitrage.
Yeah, it's definitely not all it's chalked up to be. I work with somebody, you get them, some of the deals are phenomenal. They're home run, you buy them, you add that stuff to your inventory, congratulations. A lot of it's, I can get this product cheaper if I just go buy it online with some discounts and some cash back and this, that, and the other. And then other times it's, hey, you have to buy 6 units of every single size, or 10 or 20 units of every single size. You have to buy at least 70% from this portion of the catalog and another 30 from this. They're trying to get the slower moving stuff out of their hands.
I mean, you got to imagine, like, size runs of shoes is a huge deal. Like a men's size 5 or 6 sells like 1/20th of the amount of a men's size 10. So if you're forced to buy these size runs, it really can, you're forced to hold a bunch of junk inventory. So
yeah,
I'm not going to bash wholesale too much, but there are challenges that people, they think they can just have this passive business, and that's just not the case.
And sometimes there is. There are people who like find these great relationships. They're getting very cheap, but also like you have to understand that we're Amazon sellers. We're small businesses still, right? There's people buying from these companies that are $100 million businesses, and they're getting better rates. They're buying more of them, and they're selling them, and okay with smaller margins than we are in a lot of cases.
Exactly.
So you're gonna see these products where it's like, okay, if I buy these, I'll make $2 a unit or something, and it's like, shit, at this point it's not worth it. Whereas to somebody who's a massive company who has the bankroll, who is kind of, that's more in line with their business, they're okay buying it at those prices. And that's kind of what I see with a lot of wholesale deals that I look at.
Right. And as a small business on Amazon doing arbitrage, like, I've seen insane margins and ROIs from our group. Like, I'm at 10 million, trying to get to 30 million. My goal is to maintain a 10% margin. I'm going to do my best to maintain, like, at 10 million, I can maintain 12 to 15% margin. At 1 million, I could do like 20 to 25% margin. There were some guys in our group that did the super premium stuff. I swear it was like 30-40% margin. That is not normal. But
No.
like, yeah, that
Yeah,
was
no.
unheard of. But wholesale, you're talking about huge companies that'll do freaking 2 to 5% margin.
Yeah, yeah, and they're totally okay with it. Whereas like we just can't live on that margin as a small business. It's not enough money to survive.
Right.
So you go with these wholesale deals, and it's like I'm just not making enough, right? So yeah, you kind of gravitate back towards what's going to make you the most money, what fits in with where your business is at currently. And so for you, it's majority online. You've still got some retail buyers. I know a lot of people in the group still do a lot of retail, a lot do online. But yeah, those are kind of the three aspects of your business, what you kind of focus on. Now we've talked about little bits and pieces here and there, but I just want to, starting from zero, getting to this almost 10 million a year business that you now have. I just want to kind of touch on some of the most important kind of milestones and how you got there, right? So you started, you've got zero, you found your first product, you've got a mentor. Where, like, is there anything else in that kind of very, very beginning phase that sticks out in your mind that was important?
Yeah, from the very beginning, I remember trying to do it on my own first. And you were better at this than me, like searching online. Some people can like all the information in any topic is out there if you search hard enough. I remember you learned a lot on your own. But my first thing was to get somebody that knew what they were doing to teach me it. And I got that. And that was huge. So like he had me out buying at stores and I was doing my own buying, my own prep at the house, and then sending it to Amazon. So all myself. Then
So that's
I
like
think
the brand new guys right now who are listening are
yeah,
probably in that boat, right?
yeah, and you're gonna have good margins. You're not gonna have any expenses
You're not gonna have
besides
any issues either,
yeah,
none of this like prep center bullshit that we now deal with and none of
yeah.
the employee bullshit. But okay, so that's kind of very beginner phase, right? What's the next level?
The next step, I always recommend that you hire a prep center, and the reason for
Well,
this,
so
and
okay, hold on. Before the prep center even comes in, well, let's talk about maybe some software that you were using at the time. Where,
oh wow, okay,
yeah, see, like there's a lot to it, right? Like
yeah,
let's go base to 10 million, but let's talk about every little thing.
true. So the main software is Amazon Seller Central. You have to get that when you start sign up for an account. It's like $40 a month for the pro account. You can even do it free. There's Inventory Lab that helps you prep and send products in through Inventory Lab. It's a good link to your Amazon Seller Central, which you don't even need, but I started with that because my goal was to always start like taking this on as I'm building a big business. I want to get the right tools.
So pay a little bit of a premium, but know that you'll
Yeah,
grow into it.
but if you're in a capital crunch, you could just do it with Amazon Seller Central. The other tool that is just absolutely important is Keepa,
There we
which
go.
shows price charts of the products. So price charts and sales rank charts. So you can see the speed of sale over time and the price over time. And that's going to save you a lot of money because something might be profitable today when you scan it. That's what your apps are going to tell you it's profitable today. And you look at the chart and maybe it wasn't profitable very recently and usually. So those charts are absolutely huge. So you have your two softwares. You have Amazon Seller Central, Inventory Lab for scanning product. You have Keepa for looking at the product chart. And am I missing anything? Those are the main things that you need to get your hands dirty.
No, yeah, I think like at the very beginning at least, that's really what's going to be important. Keepa is going to be huge because again, like you're saying, you need to look at those charts. You need to see, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year into the past, not just this one day when you scan it on your phone and you just see this price and this sales rank. You need to be looking at, okay, what has it done? What has happened up until this point? Am I looking at an anomaly at the moment, or is this kind of baseline? And is this profitable long term? Or has it been profitable? Can I assume it will stay profitable? And then, you talked about the Amazon Seller Central app, right? You're going into your stores, you're just scanning as many products as you can, you're doing the analysis, or were you using, because I know there's also Scoutify, right? Which is part of Inventory
Yeah.
Lab.
Yep.
It's pretty much the same thing, right? But so this is
Right.
you.
It's the mobile version of Inventory Lab.
There we go. So this is you kind of day one, first little time period in your business. You're going out, you're scanning every product in every store possible, and you're just doing your analysis, right? And then you're prepping it
Yep.
and you're sending it to a warehouse, or are you shipping it yourself? Are you doing FBA or FBM?
I do all FBA for the reasons I mentioned earlier in the call. Like they take care of returns, all that stuff. It's easier. But FBM, you're going to make a little bit of a higher margin. And to describe FBM, that's when someone, if you're on Amazon as a customer and you see something that's not the Prime checkbox, that's sold from a different store, that could be FBM, fulfilled by merchant.
So we say FBM, it's really MF, like merchant fulfilled,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck. Yeah, we say FBA, FBM.
So they send directly to the customer. They never send it to the Amazon warehouse. As an FBAer, we send everything to the Amazon warehouse so we can get that Prime checkbox.
And then when somebody orders it, it's sent from the warehouse. Amazon deals with returns, customer satisfaction, all that kind of bullshit, right?
Yep.
And so from day one, you were just like, I'm going to send everything in.
Yeah.
And why was that?
And knowing, I mean, you know this, the beauty of when you're starting out is, and always, but I don't do this, but you can always remove stuff from Amazon and return it to the store.
Yeah.
If it's not working out, just remove it and just take it right back to Costco.
Yeah. So really quick though, was there a reason that you decided to just do FBA entirely, skip out on? Because I have my reasons for it, and I don't know if like they match up with yours, but this could sway somebody into saying, I'm just going to start doing FBA over FBM.
I don't think I thought about it too much because I was just listening wholeheartedly to the guy teaching me and to my mentor. And thinking back, it's because of all those reasons, because I don't have to deal with all those other things. So I could focus on the main thing in my business, which is finding cheap things.
Well, this is what, this is kind of what I was trying to lead you to talk about is, you know, you've mentioned this so many times, and I think it's huge for anyone who's listening, is the highest value thing you can do in an Amazon business is be buying products. In a retail and online arbitrage, the highest value thing and the only thing that really makes you the money is you going out and buying stuff. That's where your ROI comes from. That's what pays the bills. Obviously, it getting sold and it getting sent and it getting prepped and all this, you need to do that. But what comes before that is you in store buying product, right? And so anything that fills your time that isn't that should be looked at as something that could be outsourced that isn't as important. So if you're sitting here having to prep customer orders, you can't be shopping. And so that's kind of the reason that I gravitated towards it, and assuming you kind of did the same.
Yep, absolutely. And that is a nice segue to like when you do this for a while, you can buy your own stuff, prep your own stuff, send it in. And exactly what you just said, you realize that the prep you're doing all the time, prepping product, even when you're not sending it directly to your customer, when you're sending it to Amazon, that takes time away from buying. And so the next thing
this is phase two almost. You know, phase one was you buy everything, you prep everything, you do it all yourself, right? That when people say, "Oh, I can't scale a retail arbitrage business," this is where they get stuck. Yeah. You know,
everyone, it's hilarious.
Yeah, we have it in the group. You know, people ask on a regular basis, "How do you scale this business?" Like, there's no way to scale this business. And you're right. If you're doing it all yourself, you cannot scale this business. You get to a point where that's your limit and you're done. And you can stay at that level forever if you want, or you kind of move into phase two, which is kind of this idea of outsourcing, right? And so with you, it started with, let me outsource my prep.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's actually a really fundamental thing to business that people must just not realize right away. But this is all businesses, and because Amazon is inherently so simple, you're finding cheap things. Like, we're not doing rocket science here. It actually is easy to scale because you just have to find out your edge and figure out your strategy and then teach the next person in your company. Or like from this second step, realize that I'm spending 20, 30 hours a week prepping my products when I could be buying. All right, here's the next step. I'm going to take all my prep and bring it to a prep center who professionally does this. They already know how to prep and send to Amazon, and they take care of all of that for me. I can double or triple the size of my business because I have more time to buy.
Okay, so this is kind of phase two, right? You've outsourced your prep, you're still doing all of your buying, right? And so you're able to maybe double or triple your buying because you have double or triple the time to spend in stores, right?
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, keep going.
I was going to say, with that kind of increase in sales comes an increase in management. And I think this is where another piece of software is super critical. And that's
After that, you want to get a repricer.
Yeah.
And the reason you don't get the repricer right away is because you want to be watching your products. You want to be watching like what happens to the price. And you want to be manually adjusting price, in my opinion, to see what's going on. But then you get an automatic repricer, which you set a minimum and maximum price for it to jump around from, and it's going to compete automatically with the other sellers and get you into the buy box. The buy box is when it's your turn to sell.
There we go. So yeah, the repricer is going to be huge, because this idea of having 1,000 SKUs or whatever it may be, and you not being able to monitor all of them, and prices are moving around on every single product on Amazon. And this idea that you have to sit there and monitor and analyze each one is just not possible, right? So you outsource the prep, you outsource the price changing, you can set it up to where it has certain rules and it's not going to price incorrectly according to your business model, but you've got that as well, right? So now you're, again, just focusing on sourcing. It's your main focus. You're getting very good at it, right? And this is where I think a lot of people say the switch kind of turns on, right? Because at the beginning, you're struggling to find these products. It's a pain in the ass. You're tired after sourcing. You then have to prep. You're watching your sales constantly. You've outsourced two of the things now, and you're getting really good at prep, right?
Yeah, and honestly, right there, we're talking about, so we've outsourced our prep at this point, and we've gotten a repricer. That means like you could probably do 5 million just off of that alone, because now you're just buying. You still got to spend some hours buying, but that alone, it's too late in the day. I can't do the napkin math, but I think you could do a $5 million store without
5 million. 5 million's a little bit tough. I mean, like, I don't know what you were getting to. I don't know, like, if I just looked at one of my employees buying, I don't know.
The reason I came up with that, one of my best buyers is buying $100,000 per month at the store. That's going to convert to, all right, so that actually ends up to about 2.5 million in sales for the year.
Yeah.
So if you were an absolutely exceptional buyer, it's possible.
If you were maybe doing in-person buying and online buying, and you're really crushing it, obviously you're taking them all the pay, versus one of your employees maybe isn't doing the best job, and you could probably do a better job if you sat and sourced for 8 to 10 to 12 hours.
But I have an online sourcer that does 200,000 a month. So there's the 5 million right there if he was just running it by himself. But
yeah, no. And like, I just don't want to throw out unrealistic goals for people who are listening to this, who are going to say,
true.
Okay, that's bullshit. 5 million. Like, yeah, it is. Like, you've been running this business. You're an expert. I'm an expert. Some of our top employees are experts. But realistically, okay, you can do 7 figures in sales by yourself if you've outsourced a couple things. And here's another big part of scale, right? Is you talked about this idea of, at first, there's more money than opportunity. And then it gets to the point where there's more opportunity than money, right? And I think every Amazon or retail and online ARB guy deals with this at some point. Is I can't buy every product I want to buy, right? And so it's something we got to talk about, but it's scaling and credit. And like, I just want to know what you did, and I know what you did, and I know what I did, but like, I want everyone else to hear it. And kind of this, I'm going to preface this with this is not financial advice. This is not something that like we can tell people to go do, right? But it's what we did, and it's part of our story and our journey.
Right. Not financial advice. It's a good problem to have. You're running, that is the problem that you want to get to. You've got so much stuff to buy that's going to make you money, and you don't know how to get it all. And in my opinion, in Charles' opinion, probably in your opinion too, like a lot of people think, so one thing they're limited by is they don't want to outsource. They don't want to give anything away. So that's one limitation. The next limitation is capital. This is a capital business. You need to spend money to get this inventory. But if I'm looking at my company and it is profitable, I'm making money, I'm flipping product, I want to inject capital into that business. So at the early stages, rather than getting a loan, I had decent credit. So I was just maxing those credit cards.
I still, to this day, we both still to this day max the credit card.
That's true.
It's kind of a part of this business, but this is why we say phase 2 is when you should kind of start to look into this, because now you've really understood the whole cycle. You kind of understand sourcing at a much deeper level. You're comfortable swiping that credit card knowing that you will sell that product and you will pay off that credit card before interest starts accruing and starts destroying your margins, because that'll kill you, right? And I see people who jump in.
I never took any interest. You get the 0% cards. I never had to deal with any interest.
Well, no, I understand that. I see some people, I've like talked to a couple people in the group. Some people, the mistake they make is getting the cards too early. They either use a card that's already been established that they're now paying interest on, and they make bad buys, and the cycle and the timing doesn't work out to where they're having to pay their credit card, but they don't have the payout from Amazon because their inventory isn't selling.
Right. And this is why this is not financial advice, because some of you guys will manage credit really well and others will not. You're never trying to rack up a bunch of interest rates. The point is to inject capital into your business. If you can get 0% cards, if you can manage your credit really well, if you can even do a creative loan with a friend, a high interest loan with like a rich friend or something, get your hands on some capital to grow your business. This business can compound with the ultra premium stuff. We've seen guys in our group just insane compounding from nothing without a lot of help. But the way I do business is, if I am a profitable business, I want to inject capital and do more of that activity. I'm not going to wait for my capital to turn over to make more profit.
No, yeah. And I, you now see this, there's also these Amazon lines that have been given out, and there's companies now offering us money through Amazon. Like, I can get a Chase loan for whatever, 50, 100 grand, whatever it is now. You have taken multiple couple $100,000 loans. But yeah, in this kind of second phase, most people, unless you're just, caked up, are gonna struggle with the capital. And this is kind of one of those options and something that you can't be afraid of.
Right. About a year and a half in, Amazon will start offering you loans, and then it's too easy to get money for your business.
Yeah.
After you book a little trust in history with Amazon.
It's funny, once you kind of grow and blow your business up, it just gets easier and easier, and the headaches seem to melt away and the struggles seem to melt away, and everything's kind of set up for you to win once you become this massive seller, right? There's no huge restock limits that you need to deal with, and constraints and blah, blah, blah.
I mean, there's a liftoff period in any business, and I think Amazon's liftoff period is actually really short.
It is.
The first 4 months or so, unless you're like flipping pools, like you're gonna be like, you're not gonna feel like you're putting tons of cash in your pocket because you're putting that money back in inventory. But once you start hitting that awesome problem when there's more opportunity than money, and you start hitting that 4 to 6 month mark, you do get liftoff, and you don't have to build a marketing department and advertising and customer support and all this stuff. Amazon takes care of like a huge chunk of your business for you.
Yeah, a massive part. Honestly, the only thing is get the product and then get it to Amazon, and then let them take care of the rest of it, to be honest. But okay, so yes, this is phase 2, right? You're still doing the buying. You found maybe your niche. You really are good at sourcing. You're starting to scale up with capital injections, or using lines of credit, and you're outsourcing some of it, right? And then I think phase 3 is kind of the next phase in it, where like what happens after that?
So you want to hire, the recommendation is to buy yourself as long as humanly possible until you start scaling, because again, buying is your biggest edge. Are you getting better at buying? Like, are you finding cheap stuff? So you should be yourself improving at that if you improve at anything. But there comes a point where you can bring someone on, and again, this is not rocket science, and teach them what you've learned. So I brought on a buyer in person. That was my first call. And I literally just took him to the exact stores I was going to, told him my exact strategy, and had him do exactly what I was doing. So he did my buying in the store. And then suddenly I'm freed up to pursue either buying more on my own in the store or online arbitrage while he's buying retail arbitrage.
So that exactly, it's again, you get to that point where there's a constraint, where then people who have done this are saying, okay, how do you scale it now? You're at your limit now. There's no more scaling to be done. And you're like, oh, no, hold on. Let me just recreate me through an employee and double kind of the output, right? So if they're buying just as much as you in the store, you now have twice as much inventory headed to Amazon.
Yeah, you teach your buying process to somebody. You teach it exact as best you know it. And if they can do as 90, 80% as good of a job as you buying, then you just won back all that time to move on to the next thing. You hire an online buyer. After you get good at online buying, you teach an online buyer. And the rest is history for me. Like once I got a couple employees, well, then the employees are training the other employees.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna get to that. I'd say that's phase 4, right? Let's not, because it did happen so quickly with you. I watched it happen. It was insane. You know, like you literally had 1 employee one day and 9 the next day, and then fucking 20 the day after that, right? So, okay, you've got your 1 in-person buyer. Are you then shopping? You're obviously having to do some training, and you're still kind of buying as you're doing the training. But what was that process like? You know, you now need to see yourself as like a business owner, not this guy who just like runs his own store. It's like you're now a CEO of a company who has an employee, who will have multiple employees. Like, was there any sort of shift in mindset or, you know, anything on that end that you needed to go through at that point? Or is that a little bit later down the line?
It definitely didn't feel like that yet. I still felt like I was doing a really good job and this was going to be a big piece. I didn't really know that hiring that first buyer was like such a like one of the final steps to like and then it becomes like much bigger scale.
Yeah. So this is something that I know some people deal with is they find that first buyer. A lot of people, especially in our group, is because we have this program where we hire VAs and help people get VAs. A lot of people go with the VA first, right? And they have their VA buying and then they kind of tune out, they check out. How did you kind of continue to grow? Because I know that's something that people struggle with is, okay, I got my buyer. They're now doing what I was doing. I can kind of relax.
So when you hire an online buyer, you hire a virtual assistant. And we provide great ones, but you have to spend every waking moment with that first one to again, same with your retail buyer, teach them exactly everything you know, like make them think like you. And that's just, you can hire somebody that's pretty well trained in Amazon that knows how to source deals, but this is your company. This is your baby. This is your edge that you have built for this many months. You're not going to rely on a sourcer and somebody to find product for you with their strategy that they learned. So you can bring somebody in that's well trained and you train them yourself and you get them thinking just like you as an online buyer. And then you get another one.
Yeah. So, okay. So this is still first one, but a big part of this kind of phase is passing on that knowledge. And it's why we kind of talk about the idea that you need to perfect it first. Like you need to be so good at sourcing that you can pass that knowledge on to somebody, and then they need to be extremely good at sourcing. Because if they're not doing good sourcing, you're going to be buying bad products. There's no point in bringing them on if they're going to buy shit products for you, right? So master, if you started doing in-person buying, master that, hire somebody to take care of it. Then learn how to online source, get really fucking good at it, and then pass that information on to a virtual assistant who can then do your online buying. And, we say virtual assistant because they're cheaper. You can generally hire them from another country, pay them, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe bonuses. I know some of your employees make very good money, even for somebody living in the States. But it's cheaper, and that's why they can do everything from another country, and it's still just kind of done for you. Yeah. And this is all kind of snowballing, right? So it's, you've got your prep center, you've got your employees, like each one of these things is kind of a building block on the last. So your employees are then sending to your prep center and you're kind of removing yourself a little bit from this entire process and becoming more of a manager of it all. So you're managing your prep center, you're managing the buy sheets of the employee who's buying in store, who's buying kind of online. Is there anything else you can think of in this kind of third phase of 1, maybe 2 employees that you think was super important to your growth?
Wow, it's hard to think back to that period because that's when the exponential growth started. But no, it's exactly what I already said. It's just so important for the first employees, especially that you bring in, that you teach them like around the clock how you think about this business, because the bigger you get after that, you're not going to have the time and resources to dedicate to every single employee individually if you're going to go to 20, 25 employees. So the first ones you train better know how you think and how you want the other ones to be trained.
Yeah. And it's best to kind of get that set from day one, like you're saying. Um, so, okay, really instilling what your company's kind of goals and buying habits and spending habits and kind of how your company runs and the vision you have for your company. I'm just personally trying to think, if there's anything else. I think a big thing for me at this point was like up until then, it was kind of I can just keep running this super, super hard, right? But right now it's kind of more, let me fine tune, let me look at the numbers a little bit deeper, let me get the tracking really, really kind of in place. Because for me, I would, source whenever online in store, there was no tracking of anything. It was just, I know I'm buying very profitable products and I'm sending them and they're selling. Now it's like, okay, I need to see how my buyers are buying because I don't know for a fact 100% that they're buying the best products, that they're not making mistakes, they're not logging their hours, the prep center is not getting all of the inventory that the employee's buying. So it very much became tracking oriented at that point. I don't know if it was the same for you or if you kind of continued to just push it super hard and are now dealing with that.
Same deal. Tracking, reviewing, you become more of an owner, but the same fundamental principles applied to when we got that prep center, which is I'm looking for low value time, things that are easily trainable to outsource. And all these things you're mentioning, reviewing, tracking, things like that, again, not rocket science. So like you're doing those things because you're the owner, but then as you keep growing, all of these things can also be taught.
There we go. So yeah, this is kind of, I guess, phase 4, in my opinion, of like the quote unquote phases of your business, right? You went from 2 to 20 employees or 25 employees, right? So how did that happen?
I mean, we got it up to 2, and then like I said, like since you got the guys that know exactly what you want to do, it started happening like one after another. Just hired more and more sourcers. I knew I had the capital to spend. I just needed more people to know exactly how we shop. And we just hired more and more people, got them trained up. They would shop, we'd review their buys, or like my top guys would review their buys. And so now you have this buying machine. And that works pretty well for a while, like all the way up to like 10, 15, 20 employees. But and now I'm at, I guess if you want to call it phase 5, like I literally have to build corporate type
structures.
Structure,
like infrastructure. Yeah,
because it's really hard to just get down the line to 25 people. So there's like a new rebuilding process. But at that like 10 to 15 person sweet spot, like I was chilling. Like it was running pretty smoothly and pretty passively for a while. But I have my sights set at a little higher than that.
There we go. Okay. So kind of then building up this corporate, but yeah, I think the end of phase 3 into phase 4 is kind of not much change. It's really just, really getting it down with those first couple employees who can then, you're still obviously doing some of the hands-on training and, some of that, but at that point you now have employees who can train new employees.
Right.
So I guess at that point, when you've scaled from 2 to 15 or so, what were you doing at that point? What were you doing with your business, or were you just completely letting it run itself?
Different things at different times, but my goal was always for it to run itself. Like at a, when things got to the point I wanted to get to, I was moving my family. I was, we just moved to the beach. Like I was surfing. It was
so you're taking it easy. Yeah, taking it easy at that point.
But that's not the case for everybody. And the, it's all about what you end up creating for your business. Like I train my people really well. I review them pretty well. And I know other Amazon sellers at my level that they're spending tons of time in their business because they're still the primary buyer. They're still doing, like, they're trying to get 8 figures, like all on their own with some support staff. And it's really going to be up to you if you become into that business owner, if you're going to get to that level.
Yeah, and I think that's where you kind of scale, and they might hit their limit at some point. Is
Yeah, and look, like in our community, I'm sharing all of the things along the way, all the steps I'm sharing because I've just always had from the moment of learning about Amazon, like this abundance mentality. There's once you learn there's endless opportunities, it feels that way about everything else. And I know that my moat, like keeping people out, is my size. I can go lower ROI now. I can go lower margin. Um, I know that we're building like really good buyers in my company. So I'm not afraid of giving kind of like the blueprint to get there because I think only the people that will really take it seriously and will have to build a little bit of their own edge will catch me. But in the meantime, we're
you're
building
growing. Yeah,
7 figure sellers left and right in the group.
Well, it's funny
And
you say that because I see you on some of the listings I sell on, right? So like we are now competing as sellers, and I look at what you're pricing out on some of your products, and it's like I can't get to that price because
yeah,
you somehow get it like with my repricing, with your repricing, with everyone else's repricing and
or
competition,
or we're mismanaging a certain chunk.
and you
Like
need to sell that product off because you've
right,
held it
back
for
to the
too long.
arbitrage problem. Like it's possible. So we definitely have work to do to make our repricing better. But yeah, that's hilarious. Like I could be getting it cheaper, but I could also be having that
No,
situation.
I mean, the assumption is it's a mix of both, but I guarantee you there are times where the minimum profit that I am looking for is higher than the minimum profit you are looking for, and so you can price that product lower. Even if we're getting it at the same price, you're getting it lower, or it could be that you're getting it at a lower price because you're couponing better, or you found a better site, or this, that, and the other, or it could be that third option of, hey, I'm just trying to liquidate this process, which we all kind of go through.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've definitely seen it. You're building your moat. The thing is, too, is I don't know if you want to talk about your niche. You've kind of already talked about it. I know my niche, it's shoes and clothing. If you want to, kind of talk about yours as well, there are a billion other categories out there. There's people in the group, like I don't want to name names, but a certain somebody who sells a lot of electronics who's been doing very well recently. You probably know who I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
I don't touch electronics, like I taught him, you taught him, the group has taught him how to run this business. And he's running a phenomenal business in the electronics category, which we'll never cross over, or maybe at some point when you want to become $100 million business and you branch out into other categories, you then see that competition. But it's just
Yeah.
Amazon is so big. There's, a billion different products that get sold on the platform that, that competition doesn't really cause too much of a problem.
Right. Yeah, we like I mean, I'm in the same niche as you and like we do like we dabble in like different categories because we want to get like we can sell anything. I will sell whatever, but I definitely recommend like pick a niche that kind of you're guided towards. In the beginning, if you're doing retail arbitrage and you're really guided towards electronics stores instead of shoe stores, or you like the kitchen aisle, like or something that you don't mind like looking at and getting your hands on all the time, like it would be good to get it into a niche because you can build a little bit of an edge there. If you're just completely going wide all the time, you might not be as good of a seller at shoes as the guys that are going niche.
Yeah, so that's the thing is you definitely, if you start at least with the niche, you start to learn the cycle, you learn who the big dogs are. Like I know the big shoe sellers, right? You know the big shoe sellers. You compete with them on Amazon. We know kind of the prices that they're messing with, that whole sort of thing. We know how well certain shoes sell, when to buy and sell certain shoes, blah, 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 blah. You do that with any other niche, toys, electronics. You slowly start to build that up. You build relationships in those industries. You talk with wholesalers, you talk with other sellers who sell those products, and you kind of grow within that niche and you get really good at it. And then from there, you can kind of open yourself up to these newer categories. But I do like what you're saying about you sell anything. It's a numbers game. You review the numbers. If the price, the profit, the sales rank, the number of sellers, the number of units you will sell over a given time period looks right, it's a buy. And that's the kind of beauty and simplicity of Amazon is there's dudes who are killing the makeup game on Amazon because They don't need to know anything about makeup. They need to know how fast the product sells, where to source that product very cheaply, how to get it to Amazon, and how to get their hands on as much of it as possible. And they're doing phenomenal in an industry that they otherwise know nothing about, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of the beauty of Amazon, and kind of, I think, where we can almost wrap this up. I just kind of wanted to end with the future goals, because you're at, $1 million a month now, which is going to be shortly, as those kind of lower tail end months drop off, an 8-9 figure seller, or 8, I should say, for the time being. What's kind of the plan, and what do you see for your business in the next year, 5 years, 10 years?
I don't know what it looks like for this year. My goal is 30 million. I think I can do that by just doubling the output of my store and adding a little bit more. It's that simple. Like, you're buying cheap things. I'm trying to do it more and maintain quality. So my goal is 30 million. If I end up a little bit short, that's totally fine. I think the next year I'll probably go for 50 million. But I don't know. Every year I feel like I adjust my goal upward as the year goes on.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
give it a shot.
I think your goal last year or this year was what, 4 million? You hit
originally 8? It was 4, but I planned that the year before, and then I started getting going with the year, and I was like, let's do 10.
10. There we go. So adjusting, figuring it out as you kind of go. So it's no slowing down. You just continue to grow, become this behemoth on Amazon.
Where I get healthy, like I have a happy. I feel kind of happy with where my company is and the people in it. It's definitely becoming more of a culture thing with 25 people. I have like video game days with employees, and if we get to a perfect size, I think there might be an ending point. I'm not the type of person that needs like the biggest and the best store. I want a store that like makes me happy. I can work on it from wherever I want, whenever I want, with who I want.
Yeah, it's funny you say that up at that huge number. I'm saying that down at my much lower number, and I'm just kind of perfectly content with where I'm at. And I think that's another beauty of it, is you can scale it up or keep it kind of wherever you're content with, but it just takes a little more work and a little bit more strategy and planning and guidance and surrounding yourself with the right people to get to that next level. It's never I can't get to that. It's like, I'm choosing not to, almost.
Right.
It seems.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Okay.
e-com it's insanely growing. Like, Amazon isn't growing crazy. Like, there really isn't a huge a ceiling on this that I've seen. Like, every time I set a higher goal, I freaking meet a seller through our group or Twitter or something that is like, oh, I'm doing 50 million.
It's like, what the fuck?
I'm like, all right, goal has just been raised.
Yeah.
And the beauty of our Arbitrage Ops, like, we started it, we taught a bunch of beginners how to become 7-figure sellers and good sellers. And now the 8-figure sellers are finding us. We have such a good knowledge base that they're coming in to be part of the community.
Yeah, it's really cool that they've come to either, add some value, but also gain some value, because that, I think, is one of the biggest things about surrounding yourself with a community and with knowledgeable people and people who are doing better than you. Is we've had, a couple thousand people cruise through the group. We sit at around 700 to 1,000 members. And it's just all of these members providing experience and growth and support. And I've learned stuff from members that I never would have doing it on my own, or even just, focusing and working with a couple sellers like yourself. It's, everyone's adding their little tidbit, and it has been extremely beneficial to my store.
Absolutely. And you can catch trends so easily with 700 members. We know exactly what's always going on with Amazon, because somebody's got an example, another guy confirms it, and boom, we know exactly how this new thing works.
Yeah, it's wild. It's truly awesome that we've kind of built this up. And one last thing I did want to ask, because now you're kind of at that size, is are you now looking at any sort of macro trends or focusing on any of that? I know you didn't at the beginning, and you and I both talked about this. It was, let's run it until the wheels fall off. Amazon, even Bezos said at one point, it's like, Amazon's not going to be around forever. It's like, okay, maybe true, but I'm going to run it as hard as I can until then. But now you're dealing with, $1 million in inventory at the moment, and you're dealing with this, that, and the other. I don't know what your inventory valuation's at now, but it's like, do you think about kind of the macro stuff now as this massive seller?
Yes, 100%. I mean, it's funny. We're still trying to figure out our exact 2021 inventory, but somewhere around 1.5.
He doesn't know.
It's different warehouses. It's in the air. It's at Amazon. I'm like, wow, this happened big. This has happened fast. But yes, like, I mean, I'm not a big person that's just constantly looking at competition. I'm looking at how to get good at what I'm doing. And I'm looking on a monthly basis at my metrics telling me if I'm selling my product fast enough and for a good enough profit. If that stuff continues to maintain, my assumption is that my strategy is currently working in this market. If I can start seeing month after month, if we start selling a little bit slower, and if it might be time, like with other macro conditions, that Amazon suddenly isn't where the money is at. But at the moment, Amazon is the cash cow. There's Blue Ocean in Walmart, in a bunch of other different sites. There's so many sites going to this third-party model, which essentially makes the whole country and world like this trading marketplace of inventory. There's going to be other opportunity, and I wouldn't sway you from going to look at that, because the pioneers at Amazon sellers, like, they're doing great. But if you are too early in the blue ocean, like, all the money is still at the cash cow. At the moment, all the customers in the country and expanding across the planet are shopping on Amazon. They're not shopping at Walmart online.
I wouldn't discount Walmart. I mean, Walmart is still, I guess, the biggest retailer, and their site's garbage at the moment for sellers. So I think that's part of the reason I haven't gone over.
Right. So
I still have to scale on Amazon. There's still growth on Amazon. So
right, Amazon's platform's easy. It's still the Wild West, but it's figured out. Walmart is a harder experience for the sellers, but if you're willing to put in that work, you could build a little bit of an advantage. And if I start to see more and more sales over there and figure out Walmart, then yeah, I don't feel like there's an end to this inventory arbitrage business if I want to just stay aware of what's going on. Like, I can move this inventory to other platforms.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, I think as you start to just get a little bit bigger, you start to focus on this, and there's almost a need to. Whereas, you got $1,000 in inventory sitting at Amazon, Amazon shutting down is going to kill you. But with $1 million sitting at Amazon, it becomes more of an issue. So okay, cool. I think that's everything. I mean, we've talked for a while. It's been an hour and a half or so. We've gone over almost every aspect of Amazon, and more importantly, how you scaled from 0 to almost 10 million in 2 years, which I think is going to be massively beneficial. And then the last thing we kind of talked about was arbitrage ops, which is something that you and I both, run and grow. And so I think it is kind of important to say, if you've listened to this and you're interested in kind of learning more about Amazon, or you're ready to kind of start that journey, I think we want to open it up and say, join Arbitrage Ops. We're open. We're interested in kind of teaching more people how to do this. And I'm assuming people are going to have questions after an interview like this. But I think that's the best way for them to kind of reach out. They can also hit us up on Twitter. We have the account arbitrageops.com. If there's any questions, they can maybe shoot us a DM. But is there any other way you think people can get in contact with us, or any other advice for them on getting started?
I mean, you can get started on your own. There's information everywhere. Create a Seller Central account and do all that jazz. But there's really no harm in joining our group. It's a money back guarantee. And we're teaching from the ground up, and then we have an incredible community. So the reason we do a money back is and we give we give all our information right up front. It's just because we're asking you to do a lot. We're asking you to start a business. Like, you can do this on the side. Like, some people come in and just flip products, and that's fine. But we want to make sure this is right for you. And come into Arbitrage Ops, learn it from the ground up with more specifics. I mean, we gave the blueprint today, but we'll go into the specifics in the group.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you listen to this entire podcast or this, interview that we've done, and we talked about the software you need. We talked about some of the metrics you need. We gave the blueprint for scaling. I mean, you can go with that information alone and a little bit of, know-how on how to find more information on the internet, you can go and start a very profitable business. But we do run this group because we've been able to kind of put all of this and package this all into one community. And we just, want to kind of continue to spread that good word, fast track people, get people interested. But yeah, man, I love that we were able to sit down and do this another year. I'm fucking stoked to see where you are next year when you've got your now 9-figure store, and it'll be the next interview. But it's again crazy to just see the growth, and I wanted to kind of get your story out there to more people.
I mean, next year it's not going to be me. It's going to be all our 8-figure sellers in the group.
Yeah, there we go. We can start interviewing some of those guys. But
yeah,
no, I mean, you continue to impress, and I'm just stoked to see where you take it, and stoked to learn from you, and stoked to kind of grow the group. So it's just been another great year on Amazon, honestly, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Right on. Any last little things before we end this up and wrap this up?
Last things, all I have to say is just Amazon itself, like that feeling of when I realized like everything, there was more opportunity than money, and it was just about lifting the veil, like going to the store over and over again, and it takes some time to find a product. Then you realize that there's so many arbitrage opportunities, so much opportunity there. When you make that realization, when I made that realization, I look at business, not just Amazon. Amazon gave me that gift. I look at all these businesses, same deal. Like, you need to look at your atmosphere and realize, like, this stuff, not all businesses are rocket science. You just have to keep plugging along and get a mentor, get a community, get the right information, and put one foot after the other, and you're gonna get better at it, and you're gonna be in the competitive fields, and you're gonna have that incredible feeling when you realize, like, wow, I'm a serious player here, and there's actually a ton of opportunity here. That's just been an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's freaking amazing to see, man. But yeah, no, to everyone out there, I would say you didn't do anything extraordinary or like crazy different, right? You ran with the game plan, and you just did it a little better than everybody else, and the information was given to you, and you just kept plugging along, and now you're
I don't
10 million.
There's nothing that crazy about what I did at all, and there's no trick to it. There's some like tips along the way, but it is just about plugging along and putting one foot after the other and putting the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, congratulations. Awesome interview. Thank you so much for taking the time, man.
All right. No worries.